Hi, I'm Dr. Doug Anderson, and I am a licensed psychologist and the clinical director here at Sioux Falls Psychological Services. A blog was written about a screening for depression. It's a rather long blog, and some people don't like to read that much, and so I made it in video form. So if you've clicked on this, it's about a 5-minute video related to depression screening. Depression cripples us and makes everything difficult in our lives. I recently saw a report from 2003 that suggested as many as 80% of people who are depressed do not get treated for the disorder. A National Mental Health Association study indicated in 2004 that as many as 54% of people still believe that depression was a personal weakness. And I don't think that number has likely changed a great deal in the 6 years since that study. And consider this. As many as 9.5% of American adults have a mood disorder in any given year. That's about 21 million adults over the age of 18. Now those numbers are somewhat staggering. 21 million people struggling with a mood disorder this year. As many as 80% of them not getting treated for this difficult and painful disorder. And many people still believe depression is a sign of personal weakness. Let me add to this. A 2003 article in Psychology Today estimated the U.S. annual cost in labor loss at that time as $44 billion a year. That's billion with a B. And now for the good news. Depression is treatable and almost always responds to treatment. Broadly speaking, there are two ways to treat depression: psychotherapy or psychological counseling, and pharmacotherapy or medication. Though I am partial to psychotherapy anytime someone is still able to function in their daily routines and that is not actively suicidal, I can also tell you that research shows the combination of psychotherapy and medication to be the most effective treatment option. Both are not always needed, but the combination is most likely to help most people. If you're seeing a psychologist or mental health professional for counseling for depression, ask them if it would be wise to talk with a psychiatrist or family physician about medication options. If you are taking medication for depression, ask your physician if it would be wise to talk to a therapist. In most cases, not necessarily all, but in most cases, the right answer is yes to both questions. The standard model for diagnosing a major depressive episode requires the client to endorse 5 of the 9 criteria noted in the 9 questions I'm about to read to you, with at least one of those 5 items being the endorsement of either the first or the second question that I will read to you. So go ahead and assess yourself. Now here's what you need to know. The following criteria each need to be evident in your experience nearly all day, nearly every day, for at least 2 straight weeks. So answer yes or true, or no or false, for each of the following questions. Question 1. I feel depressed, sad, or empty. Question 2. I have lost interest in the things in my life that used to be pleasant or pleasurable. Question 3. My weight has changed significantly in the past month without intent, or my appetite has changed significantly. It has increased or decreased significantly. Question 4. I don't sleep well anymore, or all I want to do is sleep. Question 5. I have become increasingly restless or increasingly dull or lethargic. Question 6. I have no energy and I feel tired all the time. Question 7. I feel worthless or horribly guilty all the time. Question 8. I can't seem to concentrate on anything, or I can't seem to make decisions. And finally, question 9. I often think about death or about a suicidal plan and suicide. Remember, if you answered yes or true to 5 or more of those statements, then you may be struggling with depression, and it would be wise to get some help with this treatable condition. Depression is not a sign of personal weakness. Rather, it is a frustrating and painful psychological condition that can be helped with counseling and medication. Sometimes Christian individuals receive the message that depression is a sign of spiritual weakness or failure. That if they would just get right with God, they would get over this weakened state. The answer to suicidal feelings and the loss of pleasure, to feelings of hopelessness and compromised concentration, is more trust in God and more time in God's Word. Now, there certainly are times when our behaviors or misbehavior can contribute to a depressed condition, but those are actually few and far between. If you act in a way that is not consistent with your own value system or belief system, that can lead to a bad mood and to a sense of significant personal distress. But depression is much more severe than that, and it doesn't go away when you clean up your act. Again, don't fall into the trap of thinking that depression is a sign of personal weakness, or that it is always a response to some moral failure. Realize that it can be severe, that it sometimes puts your life at risk, that productivity takes a huge hit, and that your personal life and your relationships can be severely impacted. And if you meet the criteria for depression, please, get the help you need. Remember that depression is treatable and that you have good reason to be hopeful.